October 2024. A construction crew in Beckley, West Virginia, struck something unexpected beneath 3 feet of red clay. A backhoe blade scraped against rusted metal, the roof of a 1998 silver Honda Accord. License plate WV4729L. Inside, forensic teams discovered 2 sets of remains. A woman's wedding ring circled a bone. A child's pink backpack bore the name Natasha in fading purple thread. For 24 years, Susan Carter and her 10-year-old daughter had been missing. The community assumed they'd fled an abusive marriage. But the truth had been right beneath their feet, sealed in silence, waiting for someone to finally uncover it. Before we continue, hit subscribe and like this video. Your support brings forgotten stories to light. Susan Marie Carter was 41 in March 2000. She worked as a cashier at Save-A-Lot grocery store. Reliable, quiet, never late. Co-workers described her as withdrawn, someone who clocked out and drove straight home to her trailer on Dry Branch Road. Her daughter, Natasha Lynn Carter, was 10 years old. Teachers at Beckley Elementary called her shy. She loved drawing horses, wild horses running free across open fields. Her favorite possession was a stuffed bear named Charlie and a pink backpack her mother had decorated with her name in purple thread. The trailer was small but clean. Susan kept it that way. Natasha's horse drawings covered the refrigerator. The walls were thin. Neighbors heard everything. Michael Joseph Carter, Susan's husband, was 44. A former coal miner forced onto disability after a back injury. He spent his days drinking at Smokey's bar, complaining about his pain and his wife, who didn't appreciate a goddamn thing. Neighbors knew his voice well. It carried through trailer walls on too many nights. Loud, angry, violent. Glass breaking, doors slamming, Susan's voice pleading, Natasha crying. No one called the police. That wasn't how things worked. Carol Jenkins lived 2 trailers down. A retired nurse with sharp eyes. She noticed the bruises on Susan's arms when she carried groceries. She saw Natasha walking to the bus stop with shoulders hunched and eyes down. One February morning, Carol stopped Susan. "You all right, honey?" Susan forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Fine, just tired." At school, the nurse documented concerns in Natasha's file. Bruises. A child who became upset when questioned and refused to explain. A social worker was supposed to follow up, but casework was heavy and understaffed. The follow-up never happened. Susan knew she had to leave. She'd been saving money, $240 hidden in a coffee can behind the water heater, $5 here, $10 there, skimmed from grocery money when Michael wasn't watching. In early March, she met her sister Margaret at a McDonald's parking lot. "I'm going to leave him," Susan whispered. "I can't do this anymore." Margaret gripped her hand. "Come stay with me tonight." Susan shook her head. "He'll find me. Give me 2 weeks. I'll get my tax refund. I'll have enough to get far away." March 12, 2000, Sunday morning. Michael left at 9 a.m. to help a friend work on his truck. Susan waited 5 minutes, then turned to Natasha. "Get dressed, baby. We're going out." At 10:23 a.m., security footage captured Susan at a 7-Eleven, filling her Honda's gas tank. The clerk, Derek Palmer, remembered her clearly. Her hands trembled when she took the change. She kept glancing toward the road as if watching for someone. She bought cigarettes, water, and a bag of Skittles for Natasha. Then she sat in the car for several minutes before pulling out at 10:31 a.m., heading east on Harper Road. That was the last confirmed sighting. Michael returned home at 3:17 p.m. The Honda wasn't in the driveway. The trailer was dark and empty. On the refrigerator, he found a note in Susan's handwriting. "Michael, I can't do this anymore. I'm taking Natasha. Don't come looking for us." But something was wrong. Susan's winter coat hung in the closet. Her makeup bag sat in the bathroom. And on Natasha's bed, Charlie, the stuffed bear she never went anywhere without. When Margaret called that evening, Michael's voice was flat. "She's gone." Left a note. Said she couldn't do this anymore. Margaret drove to Beckley immediately. Everything felt wrong. Susan wouldn't leave without telling her. She wouldn't leave Natasha's bear. That night, Margaret called the police. Officer Jason Trent arrived and took statements. Without evidence of a crime, he explained, There was little they could do. An adult leaving with her child wasn't grounds for investigation. Margaret refused to accept it. She printed 500 flyers showing Susan and Natasha's photos. She organized volunteer searches, combing roads and rest stops across southern West Virginia. She found nothing. Detective Roy Caldwell was assigned the case. He questioned Michael, whose alibi seemed solid. His friend Ray confirmed Michael had been at his house from 10:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., working on a truck. But details bothered Caldwell. The toy bear, the makeup bag. Susan's bank account showed no activity after March 10th. For someone starting a new life, she was leaving no financial trail. Margaret hired a private investigator who spent 3 weeks on the case. His report was bleak. No evidence of foul play, no witnesses, vehicle never located. Conclusion: deceased or living off-grid intentionally. By 2002, the case was reclassified as a cold case, presumed voluntary departure. Michael remarried. The community moved on. Margaret never stopped. Every March 12th, she lit a candle. Every year, she called the police. Every year, no updates. For 24 years, Susan and Natasha Carter were forgotten, until October 2024. When forensic teams pried open the Honda's doors, they found 2 sets of skeletal remains. The adult in the driver's seat still wore fragments of a floral print blouse. A gold wedding ring circled a finger bone. In the back seat lay smaller bones. The pink backpack was rotted but recognizable. Inside, a notebook filled with drawings of horses and a stuffed bear, matted with clay but unmistakable. Charlie. Then came the detail that turned tragedy into murder. The rear doors had been welded shut from the outside. Crude welds, done hastily but effectively. Someone had sealed them inside. The car's exhaust system had been rigged with a hose feeding fumes into the sealed interior. Detective Megan Cross pulled the 2000 case file and began building a murder investigation. She re-interviewed Ray Dawkins, now 71, and confined to a nursing home. His memory was spotty. "Could Michael have arrived later than 10:30?" she asked. Ray hesitated. "Could have been noon. I was drunk half the time back then." The alibi was cracking. Cross found Michael's rental agreement from March 14, 2000, 2 days after the disappearance. He'd rented a Caterpillar backhoe for personal use. It was returned covered in red clay. In Michael's garage, buried under tarps, investigators found welding equipment. The wire composition matched the welds on the Honda's doors. Cell phone records from March 2000 showed Michael's phone pinging near the burial site at 11:47 a.m., not at Ray's house where he claimed to be. On November 12, 2024, Michael Joseph Carter was arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The trial began February 2025. Prosecutors presented the timeline, forensic evidence, and witness testimony. The medical examiner confirmed asphyxiation. DNA on work gloves in the trunk matched Michael's profile at 99.8%. The defense argued circumstantial evidence, but the cell phone records destroyed the alibi. After 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returned guilty verdicts on all counts. The judge sentenced Michael to life imprisonment without parole. Outside the courthouse, Margaret held the photo she'd carried for 24 years. "Justice doesn't bring them back," she said quietly, "but it tells the world they mattered." March 12, 2025. Margaret stood at 2 granite headstones in Princeton Cemetery. Susan Marie Carter, 1959 to 2000. Natasha Lynn Carter, 1990 to 2000. Beloved sister, daughter, mother, finally home. She placed daisies for Susan and a toy horse for Natasha. "I never stopped looking," she whispered. "I never gave up." After 24 years buried beneath Appalachian clay, Susan and Natasha Carter were finally home. The earth had given up its secret, and a killer would never walk free again.